What's goody, y'all? My name is Eli Blacide. Welcome back to the Hood Translations of the Bible. I'm sorry I've been absent so much. As much as I started grad school and whatnot, I have been getting into this spirit of procrastination and the spirit of laziness, which not even laziness, just simply I would say procrastination and not lack of time management, poor time management at that. So while I am still in the early stages of school, especially as I am actively trying to change my life and change my schedule within my life, I won't have as much time, of course, to dedicate to school and studying. So therefore, I wish to go ahead and hop on it now, so that way I have a set schedule to where, okay, I'm devoting as much time as I can while I have the time to study, make sure I set myself up on a nice little platform, and then, of course, when that time low-key decreases, I am further ahead or still caught up rather than being behind. You feel me knocking? But that's neither here nor there. Once again, welcome to Hood Translations of the Bible. Today we are going to read Genesis chapter 22 and 23. And I also figured out that the heads, the head titles, the little head subtitles, whatever, the headings at the each chapter, whatnot, are not per chapter. I feel like they are per, I guess, column. So like this Bible, there's verses are on one column, then verses follow in the other column, and there's verses in a third column and a verses in a fourth column. So each column has verses, and you read, of course, from the top of that column down, then goes to the next column top down. So I figured out that the subheadings are for each column. So for these ones, we are going to, or for chapter 22, we are going to be reading about the son on the altar, which I'm thinking that gives the Abraham, Isaac, we gonna get to it, but how Abraham was about to sacrifice Isaac to God, but that's neither there, as well as a substitute sacrifice. And that, like I said, that's how I ended up figuring out each heading was for each column chapters, not column chapters, each columns. Because once again, the story of the sacrifice and the substitute sacrifice are all one in the whole. That's neither here nor there. Chapter 22. And it came to pass after these things that God did tempt Abraham and said unto him, Abraham, and he said, Behold, here I am. And he said, so once again, that's just the talking of the Bible. Abraham was the one who responded and said, Here I am. God said, Abraham, and Abraham said, Here I am. Behold, here I am. Verse 2. And he said, Take now thy son, thy only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and give thee unto the Lord, that thou lovest, and get thee, yes, I am correct. Verse 3. And he said, Take now thy son, thy only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountain which I will tell thee of. Verse 3. Ooh, so what I just read was verse 2. I'm so sorry, y'all. Verse 3. And Abraham rose up early in the morning and saddled his ass and took two of his young men with him and Isaac his son and clave the wood for the burnt offering and rose up and went unto the place which God had told him. Verse 4. Then on thy third day Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place afar off. Verse 5. And Abraham said unto his young men, Abide ye here with the ass, and I and the lad will go yonder and worship and come again to you. So right here he's telling him, abide ye with the ass, basically stay with the donkey. Y'all stay here. Me and Isaac finna be the only ones to go up there. Which I low-key find it secretive that he said we're going to worship unto the God. Because that's crazy, because it's not like they're not going to worship, but he's not stating that the worship for Isaac is him being sacrificed. And I feel like that's wild. But also, at the same time, once again, this was supposed to be God tempting Abraham. So as long as I feel like Abraham fake knew as long as he abided by it, God wouldn't take his only son, especially knowing that the covenant they had made, this man's he's finna be the father of nations. You can't kill him, but okay, I'll play along with you. I feel like Abraham, once again, Abraham was the first finesser of the world. One of the first documented finessers. Like, I feel like he playing God too. But that's neither here nor there. Let's get back into it. Verse 6. Yes. Verse 6. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it upon Isaac his son. And he took the fire in his hand and a knife, and they went both of them together. And Isaac spake unto Abraham his father, and said, My father. And he said, Here I am. Yes, here am I, my son. And he said, this is once again talking about Isaac, Behold the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering? Verse 8. And Abraham said, My son, God will provide himself a lamb for burnt offering. So they went both of them together. See, once again, he being slick about it. He said God gonna provide. And look, he ain't telling him God had already said it's you. He just say God gonna provide. That's crazy word. But verse 9. And they came to the place which God had told him of. And Abraham built an altar there and laid the wood in order. And bound Isaac his son and laid him on the altar upon the wood. And I just feel like that's crazy because, like, Isaac didn't give no fight. Isaac ain't say, oh, like as much as, of course, the family is of reverence to God and, like, they're closer to God than I feel like a lot of families and people are today of world, because God don't really work in that miracle showcasing like he used to. At the same time, I still would have been like, yo, Pops, what is you doing? You binding me and placing me on the altar? Like, I'm finna get burned. Like, I just, like, as much as I feel like a lot of people say, well, it's just because, you know, he had faith in the Lord and that, like, he was a follower, he was obedient and whatnot. I feel like even obedience ain't finna, like, that ain't finna just go down smooth, you feel me? No questions, no fight, no nothing, no hesitation, like, nothing. I just feel like that's not going down smooth. But verse 11. Oh, nope. Verse 10. And Abraham stretched forth his hand and took the knife to slay his son. Ooh, no. Verse 9. And they came to the place which God had told him of. And Abraham built an altar. Nope. I said what I said. Verse 10. And Abraham stretched forth his hand and took the knife to slay his son. 11. And the angel of the Lord called unto him out of heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here I am. And he said, Lay not. So then he, and you see they're saying just and he said, to go back to who was previous, not who was previously just talking, but who was technically getting the response. So the angel was the first one, Abraham, Abraham. And then Abraham said, and he said, Here I am. And then he said again, is back to the angel. And so once again, and the angel called, verse 12, and he said, Lay not thy hand upon the lad, neither do anything unto him. For now I know that thou fearest God, seeing that thou hast withheld thy son, thy only son, from me. Has not withheld thy son, thy only son, from me. Once again, Abraham the first Vanessa. I feel like something big there. But boom. Verse 13. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in the thicket by his horns. That's if you ever heard the saying, there's a ram in the bush, baby, that all means there's another option. There's a blessing in the bush. Just go a little further. Look a little further and trust him. Look around, baby. There's a ram in the bush. There's always another way. There's always a through. Where there's a will, there's a way. Amen. Hallelujah. That's neither here nor there. Verse 14. And Abraham called the name of the place. Verse 13. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in the thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering in the stead of his son. 14. And Abraham called the name of the place Jehovah Jireh, as it is said to this day, in the mount of the Lord it shall be seen. And as you know, if you know the song, baby, Jehovah Jireh, my provider. So, boom, Jehovah Jireh was the name of the mountain. That's actually crazy. Well, of the altar, but it's on the mount. So yeah, Jehovah Jireh. Verse 15. And the angel of the Lord called unto Abraham out of heaven the second time. And he said, By myself have I sworn, saith the Lord, for because that thou hast done things and hast not withheld thy son, thy only son, that in blessing I will bless thee, and in multiplying I will multiply thy seed as the stars of heaven, and as the sand which is upon the seashore. And thy seed shall possess the gates of his enemies. And as you know, there's mad grains of sand, just even on a beach. Now imagine all the sands on the seashore. Like, even in the smaller, not even just the smaller area in which we inhabit, on a whole beach, every grain of sand. That's a lot. And that is what he is saying Isaac is going to have blessings upon. He's going to have blessings upon blessings. Just because you did what I told you to do. 15. And in thy seed shall the nations... Yes, like I said. 18. 18. And in thy seed shall the nations of the earth be blessed, because thou hast obeyed my voice. 19. So Abraham returned unto his young men, and they rose up and went together to Beersheba. And Abraham dwelt in Beersheba. 20. And it came to pass after these things that it was told Abraham, saying, Behold, Milcah, she hath also borne child unto thy brother Nahor, Huz the firstborn, and Buz his brother, and Chemu the father of Aram, and Shasid and Hazo, and Pildash, and Jidlap, and Bethuel. Baby, y'all know these names. I ain't even from play with y'all. 23. And Bethuel begat Rebekah, though these 8 Milcah did bear to Nahor, Abraham's brother. And his concubine, whose name was Rebekah, was Ruma. She hath also Teba and Gama, and Thara and Makkah. I'm not sure why they listed those names. I'm not gonna lie. But as you know, basically there was a lot of incest back then. And I'm pretty sure Sarah was also a relative of a descendant of something of Nahor, which was Abraham's brother. So yeah, I'm not sure why they listing that, but of course I feel like that is also saying the generations that came out of Abraham's lineage and Abraham's generation, although they were not directly from him. Now, chapter 23, I think we're going to be talking about Sarah's death. So 23, and Sarah was 107 and 20 years old. That's 127. These are the years of the life of Sarah. And Sarah died in Kirjath Arab. I'm so sorry. Died in Kirjath Arba. The same as Hebron in the land of Canaan. And Abraham came to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. Verse 3. And Abraham stood up from before his dead and spake unto the sons of Heth, saying, For I am a stranger and a sojourner with you. Give me a possession of a burying place with you, that I may bury my dead out of my sight. Sojourner simply means like a traveler. Verse 5. And the children of Heth answered Abraham, saying unto him, 6. Hear us, my lord, thou art a mighty prince among us. In the choice of our sepulchres, bury thy dead. None of us shall withhold from thee his sepulchre, but that thou mayest bury thy dead. So sepulchres are like those like sarcophaguses, essentially, or even those like when you go to like family cemeteries and you got those big old like house things and all those people are in them. That's essentially what a sepulcher is. What essentially holds families and generations' bodies together type. Anyhow, verse 7. And Abraham stood up and bowed himself to the people of the land, even to the children of Heth. 8. And he communed with them, saying, If it be your mind that I shall bury my dead out of my sight, hear me and entreat for me to Ephron, the son of Zahar. 9. That he may give me cave of Machpelah, which he hath, which is in the end of his field. For as much money as it is worth, he shall give to it me for a possession of burying place amongst you. And Ephraim dwelt among the children of Heth, and Ephraim the Hittite answered Abraham in the audience of the children of Heth, even of all that went at the gates of the city, saying, Nay, my Lord, hear me. Thy field gave I thee, and the cave that is therein I gave it to thee. In the presence of the sons of my people gave I it thee. Bury thy dead. And Abraham bowed down himself before the people of the land. Basically, Abraham was trying to buy the land, but once again, the people was already like, nah, like, you good, like, I already gave it to you, you already paid your debt, like, so technically, as much as I didn't say you could bury your people there, because technically you were a foreigner here, I gave you the land, so you can bury your people in the cave, you can bury your people in the sepulcher, it's cool. Like, we cool. Like, dap it up, we cool. We good. Verse 13. Ooh. Yes. 13. And he spake unto Ephraim in the audience of the people of the land, saying, But if thou wilt give it, I pray thee, hear me. I will give thee money for thy fields. Take it of me, and I will bury my dead there. And Ephraim answered Abraham, saying unto him, My Lord, hearken unto me. The land is worth 400 shekels of silver. What is that betwixt me and thee? Bury therefore thy dead. So he's saying, like, Abraham's still trying to pay. Like, yo, no, take it. And Ephraim's like, nah, like, it's worth basically 400 shekels. Which I don't know how much a shekel is, but of course that was the currency they was using back then. But it's worth 400 shekels. That ain't nothing compared to the bond between me and you. Like, we done been through it. Like, we real brothers. Like, as even back then in the day, they was really loyal. They was really loyal people. It's really y'all weirdos nowadays that ain't got no loyalty in y'all. Not even just loyalty, just got the loyalty and the pride of that loyalty, the respect of that loyalty. You feel me knocking? That's really a new age generation thing. As much as there was betrayal back then, there wasn't a lack of loyalty and pride. You feel me knocking? Verse 16. And Abraham hearkened unto Ephraim, and Abraham weighed to Ephraim the silver which he had named in the audience of the sons of Heth, 400 shekels of silver, current money with the merchant. And the field of Ephraim, which was in Machpelah, which was before Mamre, in the field and the cave which was therein. And all the trees that were in the field, that were in the borders around about, were made sure unto Abraham for a possession in the presence of the children of Heth, before all that went into the gate of the city. 19. And after this, Abraham buried Sarah his wife in the cave of the field of Machpelah, in the cave of the field of Machpelah. I read that again. Before Mamre, the same as Hebron. The same is Hebron in the land of Canaan. And 20. And the field and the cave there that is therein were made sure unto Abraham for a possession of a burying place by the sons of Heth. So right there, as much as I feel like they was going back and forth, Abraham ended up winning. And so, like, I feel like Ephraim was like, nah, like, what is that between me and you? But at the same time, yeah, you can go ahead and pay for it. Like, it's worth 400 shekels. So, like, if you gonna throw some bread, throw the bread. Throw 400. It's 400 shekels of worth of silver. You feel me knocking? So I feel like they was going, like, you know when you see your homie looking good, you see your partner, your family member looking good, and you be like, dang, I'm trying to get like you. You feel me knocking? That's what it was giving. Like, it's giving like, yo, like, for real, like, we hyping each other up. I'm saying no, but at the same time, go ahead, pay me for it. You feel me knocking? Go ahead, hype me up and boost me up, because you can use this. You feel me knocking? I got it and I would give it to you, but if you offering the money, I ain't gonna deny the money. You feel me knocking? But as Abraham was one of the first finessers, like I said, first documented finessers, Of course, he had to have some finesse friends, you feel me? Some friends that just match that energy and whatnot. In which, as we can now see, Ephron is one of the stamped thugs of the Bible. Like, as much as we might not talk about him later on, at the end of the day, he was banging with a thug and therefore had some thug traits himself. So once again, that is chapters 22, Genesis chapter 22 and 23 of the Bible, where we talked about the sacrifice of the son as well as the alternative sacrifice, the ram in the bush. So of course, a substitute for the son, the ram in the bush. And then we also talked about Sarah's death, and then Abraham buying the land from Ephron in order to be able to bury Sarah, and of course build his sepulcher. So of course, I eventually think that means Abraham finna die soon too, or eventually, no matter when he dies, he's gonna be buried next to her type. So yeah, thank y'all for joining me. I'll make sure I am most likely going to do another episode tomorrow, for the simple fact I've been behind. So make sure y'all catch me tomorrow / next week's episode. We are going to be going over Genesis chapter 24 and 25. Thank y'all. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, come catch us for Bible study, all that good stuff. Once again, my name is Eli Blessed. Love y'all. Bless y'all. Have a great week, great day. Have the day y'all deserve, week y'all deserve, month y'all deserve, year y'all deserved. Bless.